Hi, this is Dilip. Uh, I'm going to go through the presentation of the linear model that I have come up with for the prediction of sales price. This question came up as part of the examination. This is the question 5, which is related to modeling, uh, which is nothing but the multiple regression model that we have to create, and we have to submit this model uh, to the Kaggle website and to see how best our prediction is. For this analysis, for this linear model, the dataset is already provided. It is called the train dataset. For the from the train dataset, what I did as a first step is the data cleansing stage, where I'm just making sure all the NA values are getting removed, so that it helps in better predicting uh, helps us in better predicting as in the model. With that said, I removed first I tried to segregate between factors as well as the numeric values, and for most of the numeric value I set them to 0. Once that is done, once all the NAs are replaced with 0, uh, the trained data set now looks more good. So with that being said, the next step that I went ahead with is checking the linearity between the dependent variables and the independent variables. In our case, the dependent variable is the sales price. We are just trying to predict the sales price, so that's the dependent variable, and the rest of the variables in the data set are considered independent variable. For our analysis, for checking the linearity, I'm going with the variables which are numeric and which I feel could have some effect on the sales price. So with that said, I went ahead and did the KD pairs. Using the KD pairs, check the correlations between the different between the dependent variable and the independent variable. Few things that had a good correlation with that of the sales price uh, or the greater living area, the total basement in square feet, uh, full bath area, so hence and so forth, which had uh, a good correlation or good linearity between the sales price and the other independent variable. Once that is done, the next step in the process was to check for the multicollinearity, just to make sure that even just to make sure the how the independent variables are correlated to each other. So for this, I went with the ggCore. And then I did the analysis. Here I saw the greater living area and that of the total rooms above grade square feet having a higher correlation. But for now, as part of the first step in the linear model, we are not going to segregate or drop any of these independent variable. So as part of our first analysis, we are going to go ahead with with all the independent variables, and then based on the p-value that the model is going to model is going to predict, we are going to remove the independent variables which doesn't contribute uh, to the modeling. So with that said, we went ahead with the first stage. This is the first round of modeling, wherein we went with a bunch of all different independent variables to see how the sales price will get affected. So as part of our first run, we got an R squared value of 80%, and adjusted R square is almost equivalent to that of R square at 0.80. Here, if you see, there were some of independent variables which had a very higher p-value, which is greater than 0.05. So, for example, the year it got sold, the enclosed porch, uh, so hence and so forth. The half bath square feet, the full, uh, even greater living area had a little bit of an higher p-value, even though that is something that we were using throughout all the other questions in the examination. And if you see, there are other values which are like pretty greater. So as part of our next set of iteration, we are going to drop these independent variables which are having a very higher p-value. So with that said, we went ahead and we went ahead with the model, and then we cleared off certain independent variables which had a higher PR value, and then we try to run the model again. And here, if you see, there is a slight improvement in the adjusted R square compared to the previous iteration, but the R squared, multiple R squared value almost remained the same. So with that said, I prefer to take the second iteration of the model uh, as the finalized model, and I decided to uh, go ahead doing the residual analysis. So I did the residual analysis of the plots, and the plot that you are currently seeing, even though compared to the first one, there is a mild betterment in terms of the top tail. So uh, with that, I'm considering this as a better fit, and and I'm trying to, as a next step, I'm trying to predict with that of the test data. So I took the test data, I tried to do a prediction of the test data, and once the test data got and then as a next step, what I did was I tried to submit the test data to see where do I stand. In this process, I tried multiple iterations of submitting the test data. So there were few errors when I did the first time, but I was trying to, I slowly improved, and after fixing few things, the score jumped up from uh, pretty drastically. There were a few mistakes that I did, so which caused the score to go on a lower range. And then once all those things got fixed, the score came up with 0.28. Uh, 0.28. I still feel there is a lot of improvement that could be done to this model. Actually, I was just going through uh, one of the Stack Exchange questions, wherein they said like, because if you see the sale price, that the dependent variable is rightly skewed when we did the first analysis. So what the suggestion uh, that I read through was applying of a lag transform on the dependent variable to make it fit into a normal distribution is a better way for a rightly skewed data set. So I'm still in the process of trying it uh, to apply the log transform on the sales price and see how the linear regression model is behaving. So if time permits, I will try to upload the latest model to the Kaggle scoreboard and see how big of an improvement it's coming up with. So with that said, this is my presentation uh, for the uh, modeling data 605 class. Thank you.